You want to check with your rotors before you put them back on. Make sure they are good, not gouged and everything. Just take your finger, go from the inside, and just run it all the way to the edge. Should be super smooth. And a smooth rotor will look like that. A bad rotor, you'll see real big gouges. It'll look like like someone troweled through dirt and just left a fork impression. So both sides of this rotor is still clean. These rotors aren't that old. They're fairly new. So double check to make sure that is still good. Once you do, take your rotor and you will set it up on the hub assembly. Make sure you line up all your studs. It's a little hard with one hand. Once you get it lined up, it should fit perfect on there. Okay, as you see. Now, as you see that this right here, this is where your castle nut went. Small hole right here. That's where your cotter pin will go in once you're done with putting the castle nut back on. Make sure you can see that pinhole, because it goes all the way through to the other side, and that cotter pin will lock that castle nut in place. If you don't put that cotter pin in, you have the possibility of that castle nut working its way off, and this whole entire hub assembly is going to separate from this front drive axle, and you're going to have a lot of problems. You're going to lose your wheel, and you can do a ton of damage. You can actually total a vehicle, so make sure you have that on there. So now we have all the bolts tightened up. The way I did my hub assembly is I pushed it in slowly till it was about 90% of the way in. You can see how the dust shield plate, you can see a thin plate right there, and you can see the brand new hub assembly in there. Once you get it 3/4 of the way in, 90%, whatever you want to call it, make sure you have your dust shield lined up with all the bolts. There's only 3 of them. Slide those bolts through. They should line up with the hub assembly bolts for the holes. And just slowly twist them with your hand. Make sure they line up. If you get 2 of them lined up, the 3rd one will line up. Hands tighten them as far as you can. Then use a ratchet to tighten them in slowly, one at a time. Keep jumping back and forth. Don't tighten one in all the way. Work your way all the way around. 1, 2, and 3. Go about 5 ratchets per nut, and slowly tighten the hub assembly in together, instead of slamming it all the way in, then having to fight with it to get everything lined up. Leave a slight gap between the dust shield and the hub assembly, that way you can push your bolts through easily and line them up with the holes on the hub assembly. Once you do that, tighten them up, and you're ready to go to the next step, which the next step is putting your brakes back on. Now, I have the rotor on. Next, I will put the brake housing, which is right here. We'll put that back on, and as you see, I will need to replace my brakes here shortly. My brakes are bad. They are getting very low. I mean, they're still pretty good. They still have some bit of life in them. The way you can find that out is right in the middle of this brake. If you look at it, right here. See that little line there? That's a dust line. That's how you know your brakes are still good, if you still have a line there. You know your brakes are bad when there is no line. That line's gone, and that brake pad's all the way down. Because this will go the whole way to the bottom, almost to the metal plate. If you look, you can see it's almost to that metal plate, but not quite. If you get the whole way to there, you know your brakes are into your rotors. And once that happens, most likely you're going to have to replace your rotors as well. But here's the other brake. You can see it still has a lot of life left in it. And you'll see some glossy spots on the brake pad. That was the hot spots from hard braking, towing something. But you will occasionally have that happen.